Welcome to the For Culture Podcast. I'm Ross Cooper.
I'm Vanessa Brooks.
And I'm Jay Thomas. Thank you for joining us.
So the layout of this podcast will be, we will have 4 topics to talk about of the day. One topic we'll talk about at the beginning is the big topic of the week. We will talk about pretty much in length. And the other 3 we'll talk about, we'll just touch on, get a few details in there, and then we'll wrap the show up with a 7-day forecast and then wrap it all up at the end. The big topic this week, you guys, is obviously the 13 fraternities here at Ball State have been put on a temporary probation period, which means that none of the fraternities can have social events with or without alcohol for the next 3 months. Jake, you're part of IFC. What can you tell us really? Let's get into the nitty-gritty about this and let's talk about it.
Well, so this all started with an email to all chapter presidents saying that there was a mandatory meeting at 8 o'clock on October 23rd, and nothing was addressed in that email. It was all left for the meeting itself. And that meeting basically laid out the guidelines, said, hey, there's been a lot of issues over the past semester that led up to this, and now we are taking accountability for our actions, and this is where this pause has come into play.
Okay. So with that, you said it's a combination of things. So obviously a lot of people are associating it with the past, we've had 5 or 6 sexual assaults reported just in this semester alone, right? A lot of people are contributing this pause to that, but you said there is more. What more else are we talking about here?
Well, in the email that was sent out, it says that together as a community, we did not reflect the Beneficence Pledge to act in a socially responsible way,
right,
to treat each person in the Ball State community with civility, courtesy, compassion, and dignity, to respect the property and environment of campus or the values of the individual fraternities. So basically, we weren't following the Beneficence Pledge that we all agree to each year when we come to campus, and as fraternities, we did not live by our values that we agreed to when we were initiated.
Okay. So that's the cut and dry version of what's going on. And I guess, Vanessa, back me up on this. I guess homecoming, too, was kind of like almost the final straw, wouldn't you say? Because there was a lot of issues reported at homecoming as well.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly didn't know that there was a lot of supposed fights. But from what I've understood, it was pretty bad, from somebody just bumping into one another, and then all of a sudden it turned into a full-out brawl. So I would assume that it had to have been homecoming was the tipping point.
I would definitely say that as well. A couple of things that I saw and heard as well was that even students were throwing their alcohol containers at UPD. University police officers were having things thrown at them because things were just that chaotic. And then obviously we had a lot of alumni complaining as well. And that goes back to the Beneficence Pledge of how we're going to conduct ourselves as students if you're a member of Greek life. So yeah, I think a lot of crazy things. What do you guys think about that's going to happen within these next 3 months? Do you think it'll work out? Do you think it'll be beneficial for the university? Do you think there's going to be a bit more of an uproar? Do you think we haven't heard the last of this? Yeah, what do you guys think about that?
I mean, I think that it being Halloween weekend and now the fraternities can't have parties and things like that, there's definitely going to be a lot more house parties. So I'm just curious if UPD will be patrolling that now. I see them wanting to rebel right now. I don't know if that's going to cool down, just depending on how strict UPD is on them, or if they're really just going to give up and wait until next semester.
Right. And now, Jake, again, like we said, you're part of the IFC. She brought up a point about the house parties. What does that entail with fraternities? And because I know a lot of fraternities have satellite houses, not a lot of fraternities have actual houses on Riverside. What does that mean? Can you host a party at a house that is not a quote unquote fraternity house, but brothers live there? What does that mean?
Well, there's always going to be a minimum amount of people that it requires to make it a fraternity party. So if there's, let's just say, 6 people that are in the same fraternity having a party, and UPD or Muncie Police come and shut it down, and they take one of their IDs, and they're recognized as being part of that fraternity, then that report's going to go back to the Office of Greek Life, and then whatever happens after that will go from there. So if it's deemed a fraternity party because there are 6 or more people there, hypothetically, then that could be considered a party, and that would cause more sanctions or consequences towards that chapter.
So that's all it takes, 6 or more brothers in one.
I'm not sure
gathering.
there's a certain number, but it's not.
I know
it's
it's low.
It's
I
not
know
a very high number.
one of the things I saw, which has been we've talked a lot about just this week throughout Newslink and the Daily News and all that stuff. It's been the number 10 has been tossed around, but again, like what you said, that number 6 is even like pushing the limit. Another thing what has also been brought to the attention of, even what if it's 3 brothers hanging out at their house with like their 3 friends who are females, that can also be a sticky situation. Vanessa, say you're hanging out with, a friend who's in Greek or involved in Greek life, and, you're all there, and the next thing you know, you're getting in trouble for just being associated. What do you think of all that as well? Like, because that's a fine line, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that everyone not affiliated with Greek life should be notified about the specific rules as well, because I definitely am not trying to put myself in any situation or anyone else. Yeah, I do think that everyone needs to be notified of like the specifics, like you said, like is it 6, is it 10, is it? I've heard 3, so there's just been so many like miscommunications.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that will come as we move on with this. I mean, again, this just all came to fruition on Tuesday, really, and the thing is too. Of the 13 fraternities, 11 of the 11 of them had signed on Tuesday, and then 2 of them are holding out until Wednesday morning or late Wednesday night. Jake, the 2 fraternities that held out, can you tell us who? Actually, probably shouldn't call them out by name. Doesn't really not that relevant. But again, 2 of them did hold out until Wednesday. And the specifics, I understand, holding out on it, because the thing is too that you have to worry about with fraternities is what happens, with your national headquarters getting involved. Because I was a former Greek member, Jake as well. Vanessa, you were Greek for a while, right? Mm-hmm. Because nationals play a huge role in your place on campus. So, how are they going to look at it as in, oh, you guys are on probation now. What happened? Well, it's not just us. It's the entirety of, fraternities here on campus at Ball State. What do you think about that? Because that's a sticky situation too, because nationals see that and they're like, maybe we shouldn't have you on this campus.
Yeah. I know that a lot of alumni too, I feel like that would affect them and their judgment. I'm not sure about like the whole situation, but I do wonder why it wasn't specific fraternities, the ones who might have broke those rules. I guess Jake, do you know if it's they decided to do everyone for some reason? Like, were there allegations and things coming from it that weren't specific to one fraternity or things like that?
Well, as an entire Greek community, we need to all follow by these beneficence pledges, and as a whole, we didn't hold each other accountable for what other chapters did, so we didn't step in and speak up if we saw something wrong,
right? Especially
at tailgate or at a game or just even walking down the street if we saw something suspicious. So as a whole, we didn't hold each other accountable, and we all need to suffer the consequences for now and then look to rebuild from here.
Right. Well, and then another thing that with those, you said, suffer the consequences, you kind of, we're all in this together mentality. Everyone, if you are a brother in any fraternity, you're now required to go to different courses, like sexual assault awareness courses, alcohol awareness courses. Those are required. Now, do you think, because as of signing the pledge or signing this letter, you all brothers are now responsible to do that. Now, how do you think that's going to go over with it? I think, it's a good idea because obviously we've had issues with sexual assaults here on campus this semester. Obviously, and most of the time when a sexual assault is, occurring, alcohol is directly involved. Do you guys think that is a good requirement for all fraternities to go through?
I mean, it's definitely a good first start, but as one student pointed out in a Daily News article, that she believes that it's only a temporary fix because after this probation period is over, what happens from here? Are we going to go back to our old ways, or are we going to keep progressing into the right direction and make a real change on this campus?
Right.
I mean, how, are they having some way of checking who goes? Does everyone in the fraternity need to go? Mm-hmm. Do they need to, swipe their IDs? How many do they have to attend per week, per month?
Right.
I understand that whoever wrote the article thinks that it's a temporary fix, but I mean, if it's something where they need to go once a week, twice a month, something like that, for the rest of probation, I don't see that as a temporary fix. I see it as like a course.
Yeah. I remember it from being part of Greek myself for 2 years that when we had requirements to go to those as well before, because when we chartered, we were required to go to those courses, so they took attendance. It was an attendance thing, and obviously led through the university. So I think that's how they'll keep in check. And obviously, if not all brothers show up to that, I think there will be consequences. So. Okay. Well, there'll be more. Obviously, more of this will unfold as the next week goes on. Obviously, with Halloween weekend being this weekend and Halloween on Tuesday, this will be the first real test to see how things go over and how well the dry, no alcohol ban basically will have an effect on the fraternity houses here on campus as well. Elsewhere throughout the community of Muncie. Guys, do you think anything this weekend do you think it will be put to the test? Or do you think it will actually kind of be a smooth transition here this weekend?
Oh, definitely. I mean, everyone was saying like, wow, this would happen before Halloween and things like that. I mean, it's just, I guess, like, to me, I'm like, it's good that we already had homecoming, watermelon bust, those kinds of things. Halloween, it's not like the worst.
It's definitely going to be a good first challenge for everybody in IFC. I hope that no one is throwing a party at their house. If anything, you can just go to your friend's house that's having a party down somewhere around Neely or Linden Street and just enjoy yourselves, or even just go to the bar or just hang out and be safe.
Right. And I think it's all just about being smart with this, because if you pay, do the time, you do the crime, pay the, do the time kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I think if everyone here is going to be about, being able to go back to their regular functions, I think, you ride this 3 months out and you do as you're told, just so that you can, because if not, I've heard potentially you could lose your charter here on campus, and that would be even more, I think that would be even worse than just having to stay dry for 3 months. So again, the thing is, though, the fraternities are still allowed to be involved with their philanthropic events, but just no social events should be hosted. So, which is good, because that's what fraternities should really focus on as well, is the philanthropy and stuff. I know, because that's a huge fundraiser for different events or for different charities and all that kind of stuff. So luckily that is still intact, and that will still continue to be on. We're going to transition a little bit here. We will keep you updated as much as possible as this podcast goes on and as the weeks ahead, unravel and show off what is happening. We're going to transition. Obviously, we talked a little bit about Halloween. It is on Tuesday. A lot of children and families will be out trick-or-treating. Watch out for, as always, the warning of the razor blades or weird things in your kids' candy. It's that's kind of scary if you think about it, for people to put it's not even a joke, just put things in their candy to be mean, basically. A lot of articles have been written out this week about just obviously, check for look at the edges of your child's candy, look for specific, if there's anything with rips that look, obviously like a forced rip or anything into it, definitely look into that before you consume. That can be a big, scary thing. So definitely, I mean, the thing is that Halloween's supposed to be a good time, fun time for kids to get out and enjoy themselves. What do you guys think on that?
I mean, when I was younger, the first thing I would do when I came home with my big bag of candy is I'd pour it all over the floor and section what I liked and what I didn't like, and then my mom would go through it and she would take whatever I didn't like to work and put on her desk. But yeah, I think I always knew, as a kid, because I always watched the news at night with my mom, and so I would always hear these stories, and it wasn't like I was specifically looking at my candy for that at, such a young age. I know my mom was, but I was more so looking at it because I just wanted to know what I had.
Right. No, I got you. Jake, what about you?
I know, definitely, I went out trick-or-treating a lot, and when I would get back, I would go with my friends, so our parents would check our candy, see if there were any openings in case there was any needle injections or if anything sharp was sticking out, and then they'd also show them and say, "See, this is what you could have just took a bite out of. It could have cut your lip open, and then throw it away."
And another thing is too, you have to look out for is the allergies. A lot of kids have allergies today, and you got to watch out for what is actually not just in the forced into the candy, but already in there as and part of the ingredients. So definitely read labels. A lot of that is definitely important. And, a bit of a fun fact here. According to candystore.com, you guys know what the most popular candy is in Indiana? You guys want to take a guess?
I'm going to say something gross like Tootsie Rolls.
M&M's.
Unfortunately, no. It is hot tamales is the most popular candy in
What?
Indiana.
I
Yeah,
don't think I've ate one of those in probably like 5 years.
really.
I was never a fan.
I don't mind them. It kind of just depends on. It's with candy, it's got to be a mood. But I think the thing is too. Another thing is you get older, the more like the younger kids like the sweet, like the really sweet, sugary stuff.
I love like sour gummy worms. And
See,
things
and
like
they
that.
say as you get older, you prefer to go more towards the chocolate, and I understand that because I'm a big Reese's Reese's advocate. So yeah, hopefully you have a good and safe Halloween with you and your family and your kids. Obviously, it's a good time to go out and still another time to be together. So yeah. Now we'll look into the Indianapolis Colts and the Ball State Cardinals. Jake, tell us about the Ball State Cardinals football season so far.
Oh man, this season is one word: rough.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
First, we started out with a tough loss against Illinois at Urbana-Champaign,
Yeah.
24-21 on a last-second field goal.
See, that was a good game. That was a very good game. Like that came down to the wire.
Yeah, every year Ball State has definitely done a good job at keeping up with Big Ten opponents, but once we get into MAC play, we just blow it. We just lose ourselves. I don't know why. But after week 1, we won a 2-game winning streak against 2 very easy teams that we should have beat. Maybe probably should beat them by a little bit more, but still a win. And then since we faced Western Kentucky on the 23rd of September, it just went downhill from there. We lost 21-33 against Western Kentucky, and then after that, we could have put up 10 points a game. We lost to Western Michigan 55-3. Then we lost to Akron 31-3. We got destroyed against Central Michigan 56-9 on homecoming. And then just last night, we got demolished against Toledo 58-17.
In our defense, though, Toledo is the number 1 team in the MAC right now, right? They're undefeated in the now. They're undefeated in the MAC, and they've only lost 1 regular season so far, right?
That is correct. And
Okay.
actually, Ball State, this is the first time that Ball State scored a touchdown since September 23rd when they faced Western Kentucky.
Man, what is that? You think? What do you think? Is it a combination of things, or is it just one thing that sticks out to you about?
Oh, it's definitely injuries.
Yeah.
Last night, we had to put in our 4th string quarterback. So 4 quarterbacks have played for Ball State this season, and 3 are now injured or have been injured at some point in time. Our offensive line is injured, so if we don't have a solid offensive line that can protect the quarterback, then that gives them minimal time to make a quick decision.
Yep.
And quick decisions lead to bad decisions, and bad decisions lead to turnovers usually.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now, okay, I'm gonna throw this out there too. Do you think it's Mike News' second year? Do you think it's just he's still trying to get in the flow of things of being a head coach back here at Ball State? I mean, obviously, no one's calling for his job. Obviously, that wouldn't be appropriate. But I think within the next couple of years we'll finally get into a rhythm of, Ball State having a better program or what?
It'll definitely take New at least 5 years to fully get the program under his belt and the full swing of things. So after that, I'm hoping that we can at least produce a winning season or at least go 500.
Yeah. Vanessa, what do you think?
I mean, I think the hard thing with any sport is, getting the team to work together. Like, of course, they're all friends and everything like that, but you just, they have to learn each other's tendencies.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's really all, obviously it's not Coach New's fault, but, I mean, you get, even the rhythms of, knowing, your quarterback and
Right.
your wide receiver have that connection that they already know how each other operates, and they can make those connections. So it's just really finding who works well together, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously with any team you have to deal with new people coming in. I mean, every year you're having people come and leave, and leave. People get injured, so then you got to find out who's going to step into that spot. But it's just getting used to things.
Right. No, and I get that. And obviously, if we're on our 4th quarterback, that's huge. I mean, in football today, I think, and it's been like this for a few years, the quarterback is the most important position on the field. And if you don't have a solid connection with your quarterback and your receivers, and just as long, if your quarterback's just not fully ready, that's huge. And that's another thing we can talk about too with the Indianapolis Colts. We are Colts are currently sitting at what are we 2-5 right now, last in the AFC South. Jacoby Brissett, I'm not going to knock Jacoby Brissett. He's done a pretty good job stepping in for the Colts. But Jake, like you said, with the Ball State Cardinals, the line, having issues with their injuries. Colts have faced that as well. It's really just an interesting year to be a Cardinals and Colts fan in Indiana this year.
Absolutely. And it's a tough year for Muncie Central as well because they ended their season 1-8 as well. So it's just a rough season for Muncie football fans altogether.
Right. Now for this, with the Colts thing too, we'll transition back to that a little bit. People are calling for Pagano's job. Thoughts on that?
Well, this is a make or break year, but
Looks
looks
like it's breaking a little bit.
Has a final decision. So if
Right.
he really likes Chuck, he might give him one more shot to hopefully turn around because he knows that Luck is not coming back anytime soon. So that might be a crutch that Pagano can lean on. But as a coach, he has to also make sure that he can step it up on both sides of the ball, not just rely on Luck.
Well, and one thing that bothered me a lot was last week when he said, I just didn't prepare them enough. Like that, as a head coach, I don't think you should ever admit something like that publicly. Like, yeah, you can say that within the meetings. Like, coaches, we didn't get them ready this week. Don't say that to the press. And obviously, as we are members of the press, because we'll take that and we'll run with it. And like that just makes you look unconfident in yourself. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to target people and pull out one thing they might have screwed up saying.
Right.
But it is true. Others are going to take, that one fragment and either, word it to sound way more dramatic, or they're going to, just focus in on what that was.
Mm-hmm. And I think honestly, obviously the whole Andrew Luck thing has been a big issue with him getting hurt. But again, that's not all on. It's a lot of, you can throw a lot of that out too with Andrew, is that his injuries have been, because he does so much at one time. He tries to do so much at one time because he had to replace Peyton Manning. Like that's difficult to do. So he's obviously trying to do everything he can to make sure that the Colts are the Colts that we know and love. So I think, but like I said, I think Brissett's been doing a fine job, under the circumstances of coming in. He's starting to get to know the offense a little bit better. He just needs a little help on the defensive side. Obviously Colts got decimated by Jacksonville on Sunday. It was not a good game. They got shut out. So, moving forward, I think what we'll need to look at is improvement in the secondary, improvement on the offensive line as well. Any other final thoughts on football here in East Central Indiana or Indiana as a whole?
Yeah, to go back to Pagano saying that he didn't prepare his team for their game, it also goes back on the players. You're getting paid to do this. Mm-hmm. This is your job. Your job is to apply what you learned in the locker room, in the film room, on the field for practice, and then also apply that to the next game. So the players also should need to take initiative and scout their next opponent coming up, as well as their next 3 opponents coming up in advance, to know what their tendencies are, what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are, and then work at practice in order to come out with a W.
Yeah, I agree with you very much on that. Well, it looks like we are going to go ahead and wrap things up here today. We're going to go ahead and give you a 7-day forecast as well coming up this weekend. Mostly cloudy skies through tonight and through Sunday. It'll be a few clouds rolling in. Temps will be in the mid to upper 40s. So we're really getting that fall-like weather. And then your Halloween forecast, it's going to be a mostly sunny day with temps in the upper 40s. And then throughout the rest of the week, showers will be rolling in with temps in the upper 40s and upper 50s as well towards the end of the week next week. This has been the For Culture Podcast. I'm Ross Cooper.
I'm Vanessa Brooks.
And I'm Jake Thomas.
Have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.